we might jump into it, Grenville. So all keen to hear the progress and results. We've got the presentation. Hopefully everyone can see that online. If you just want to guide us through the slides, I'll hand over to you and you can take it from there.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. This is Grenville Fine. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Neuroflex. For those who I haven't met before, nice to have you here. Those that I have, welcome back. This is our overview of what's been happening since we last spoke. And I apologize if I'm going over a bit of old ground for some of you, but maybe it's good to refresh where we're at. So if we go to the next slide, please. We're at an inflection point in our growth. The idea of Neuroflex came out from my co-founder, Professor Mimi Galliana, who, by the way, is 82 years of age as of 2 months ago. The next phase of growth, really, because we're in revenue creation and we're growing at about 20 to 30% per quarter on revenue, is to exit via an IPO and trade sale. In fact, why I'm not in Australia is I have recently been in Qatar in the Middle East for 30 days, and I'll explain a little bit later the reasons behind that, looking for a strategic partner who potentially could take us through to an IPO trade sale. Like I said, I'll touch on that later. We're seeing favorable macro market conditions. The rehabilitation market in VR is growing at 35% annual compound growth rates, and I've got a bit of an explanation to what we're seeing in that regard. And we're really involved in a very large addressable market of over 30 billion across the various products we offer to our client base. We're capturing about 12,000, and it's actually now up to 14,000 data points per week in our data lake. We currently have on our books 1.5 million points of data. And our growth has really been underpinned by the work that we've done by securing very large blue chip sporting clients. FIFA have just ordered another round of devices for next year's World Cup. Formula One, I'll show you a photo later of where it was used by one of our clients. Horse racing, the British Horse Racing Authority had 4. We've just delivered another 4 to them. Road cycling with the Ineos Grenadiers, they've got 6. They're looking to order more. UFC, the announcement is imminent, and I in fact sent to our Shaw and Partners team the next steps on the announcement with the UFC out of Vegas. Boxing, rugby union, rugby league, and AFL. Now, this is something that's very, I suppose, close to all of your hearts, whatever sport you follow in Australia. Why are we not seeing leadership at the top level, but yet Neuroflex is being used at the clinical level amongst many of the teams right now during to our client base? The answer is, despite our request to make an announcement that it should be mandatory, they're not taking a leadership position. But we continue to work with many of the clubs at the clinical level, and some of them, like the New Zealand Warriors in New Zealand, we're looking after the Dolphins in Brisbane. We've got clients in AFL in Adelaide and Western Australia and Victoria. So what's been important really is to focus on our integration of our product into the clinical process, and I'll touch on that later. And I'll explain why the pharmacy deal has now 8 months overdue in its launch. And that's most probably been the most upsetting thing for us as a company, is not launching the pharmacy deal, but it hasn't stopped our growth. And then the final thing to reinforce from everybody is that we kicked off a capital raise. We are still $1.5 million short on that capital raise, and we continue to focus on raising capital so we continue to grow. Next slide, please. just by way of background, this is Professor Mimi Galeana, who is the co-founder of the product. It was established in 2018, so we're into the 7th year, which seems to be an important year for IT and tech startups. However, we did have COVID in between that. And our family, we bought our controlling stake in the company in 2021 into 22. Next slide, please. Just sort of recapping, why are we so well regarded in the market at the moment? We're portable with instantaneous data analysis. We're compliant and registered with all the healthcare data storage. Right now, we're in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Canada, USA, Brazil, UK, and Europe. We are very close to getting our registration in UAE. Qatar has happened, and Japan is still pending. We've had continued peer-reviewed studies, and in fact, I received one on Friday where there'll be an announcement about the use of Neuroflex in an emergency department setting, and there'll be a peer-reviewed study coming out, positive towards us, as well as a presentation to the emergency department worldwide conference on the Gold Coast in November. So that's just opening up another avenue of sales for us. The next one, rehabilitation brain training. We have 20 VR exercises inside the Neuroflex today. We've managed to take them out of the Neuroflex into a separate product, and we've branded it Reflex. And it's going to be able to be used in goggles that are not so as expensive as the ones that we use currently for the clinical testing. So we're excited for the launch of that product in the first week of December. We're a SaaS revenue model, so we've got reoccurring revenues of about $500 US per month per device. We have 300 devices out there, so our revenue is about $150,000 US per month recurring, which is about 225,000 Australian dollars per month. I've talked about the growing addressable market, and annualized revenue to July 2025 was 155,000, which is 1.9 million US annualized. Previous corresponding period in July 24 was 98, that's up 58%. For the 7 months of July, 965,000 US, which is up 46% from the previous corresponding 7 months of last year. So we are starting to see growth in our revenues, but from my perspective, not quick enough, and especially where the pharmacy deal was going to be delivering our significant amount of product out into pharmacies. And once again, I'll touch on that later. Next slide, please. Since we last met, we've managed to create 3 different product lines now within the business, which have 3 different accesses to market, 3 different marketing plans and promotional plans, and 3 different deliveries. The first one is Neuroflex Perform, which is our B2B business, which is our brain training company that I talked about being rebranded as Reflex. Neuroflex Screen is where we started our life, and that's really our bread and butter business. That's clinical grade testing in hospitals, universities, sporting teams, schools, aged care facilities. The largest amount of pre-baselining we've done in country was 2,500 South African children in 5 different schools. That was a very successful trial, and as a result of that, the clinician and his team that did that received 200 concussions during the rugby sporting season in South Africa in the school environment. We are still involved in falls risk and aging, and our Parkinson's trial is completed, and we're waiting for the results of that to come out from the University of Florida, which hopefully will be positive. And then the final product that we've managed to launch is what we're calling Neuroflex Assess, which is workplace risk assessments. This is in collaboration with Flinders University out of Adelaide, who we've now been working with for 4 years around fatigue in the heavy industry, mining, defence force, first responders, etc. Where I'm negotiating a royalty deal with them because they've done artificial intelligence analysis of our data around fatigue in the workplace. So again, that's a product that we will be launching soon. So we're creating a whole brand around that. Next slide, please. The sports performance market to us is, I believe, over time will become our biggest client base and growth market. There's a lot more of VR wearable devices being used in data analytics. Prior to companies like Neuroflex coming along, most of the data analytics was below the neck. And the 3 sports that are really putting us on the map here are football with FIFA, and the clients we've managed to get through that, which I'll touch on later, Formula 1 racing, and the UFC. This is an enormous market opportunity. UFC, for instance, baseline all their athletes in what they call their Performance Institute. They put them through sparring, then they bring them back on the Neuroflex. They look at weight cut, use the Neuroflex. They look at fatigue and use the Neuroflex. And they're looking to see injury prevention. Why is an athlete who's sparring suddenly doesn't see a kick down to the left bottom quartile of their vision and view and not reacting quick enough, but to the right they are? And the Neuroflex is picking up these subtle issues. For soccer, football, goalkeepers are using it. And in F1, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri and the team there are using it as a warm-up product, as well as a training product to sharpen their reflexes with our brain training. Next, thank you. Just to talk on sports and performance, here is Lando in Drive to Survive, and you'll see the Neuroflex up in the top right-hand corner. Those who love their Formula 1 and watch the program, it's season 7, episode 2, minute 13. And we work very closely with their doctor there. In fact, they've tested the whole engineering crew. They've tested the pit crew under stress and fatigue. They've tested the go-kart riders coming through, the F2. All their drivers are on the Neuroflex. So there's a lot of good data coming out. Then I just wanted to put this sort of page of the memo that the South African Rugby Springboks, who now have Neuroflex and paid for Neuroflex, what they said about it. It's objective evidence-based. It enhances accuracy and concussion, supports return to play decision-making, individualized baseline, tracks recovery, aligns with best practice, portable, easy to use, and now I couldn't have written that email better to get their approval or that memo. And we're very proud that we're going to leverage off now that we've got the world champion Springboks, a paying customer of ours. So there's 2 very important sporting clients just to highlight for you. Next, please. The screen clinical business, those who've been involved in the company long enough know that this is how we started our life. But the last dot point where we're really now going to focus on mild cognitive impairment, and as we continue to do concussion imaging. Falls risk assessment also to us is an important part of our product. And we're about to launch a falls risk assessment trial with one of our clients, because the Florida State University, who did all the clinical work and peer-reviewed studies, are about to publish on what parts of the Neuroflex are important to predict falls risk. Next, thank you. And this is the product we're launching mid next year, is our Neuroflex Assess Workplace Health and Safety. And we're very proud that this will look after people like our defence force, our first responders, as well as those that are involved in heavy machinery and the mining industry particularly. Okay, thank you. As I mentioned before, we want to close out our fundraise, and I'll touch on where Qatar is relevant for that in a second. We continue to invest in our pharmacy deal, which requires capex of $500,000 to buy the equipment, which we then lease into the pharmacy network. Just as an interesting point, since we last spoke, a lot of clients, smaller clients, I should say, and those that are rich, like FIFA and British Horse Racing and South African Springboks, they're starting to pay for the devices up front. So the rental model where we would buy the device and lease it or rent it to our customer base is now basically 50-50 of our business, when it used to be 90% of our business renting it. But yet the pharmacy's deal is still a rental deal. So that's why we're raising money to buy more devices to roll it out in the pharmacies. I still need some money to invest on the launching of the Reflex brain training app in December. I need that for PR marketing purposes. It's a mass market product, and it requires a whole different PR and marketing strategy. I still want to open offices, or we want to open offices in the Middle East, USA, and Japan. In terms of the Middle East, I've been given the green light to move forward with the Royal Family Investment Office in Qatar. Why Qatar? So in 2022, Neuroflex was used in the FIFA World Cup. And it was used in a hospital there owned by the royal family called the Aspetar Medical Hospital. And I met with the owner of that hospital, and they want to look, and again, I'm not promising anything here. This is very early days, but they are now inside our company doing confirmatory due diligence on taking a strategic stake in our business to create a high-performance sports and wellness product where you test on the Neuroflex and you train on the reflex. Qatar owns, or the royal family owns, Paris Saint-Germain football team in France. They own a team in Portugal, and Qatar Airways is constantly sponsoring very many sporting events around the world. And you know, if you watch sport, as most of you do, you'll see them popping up everywhere. So I'm hoping, as a result of this due diligence they're doing on our company, that they will take a strategic stake in our company, and I see them as either a natural takeout of the business or a strategic stake in advance of an IPO. But the whole basis upon them coming on board is to really accelerate the company beyond what it is today, especially all the good work we're doing in the UK and Europe markets, which they're much closer to. USA continues to bubble along with just selling devices on a reverse inquiry basis, and we increase R&D and investment in the aging neurodegeneration space. Next slide, thank you. Here's a summary of our largest clients. A lot of you maybe have seen this before. I think one of the most important issues to give you guys a heads up on is that the Institute of Sport, Exercise and Health in the UK have now opened 5 super clinics, one in London, one in Manchester, one in Belfast, one in Glasgow, and one in Wales, where they will undertake baselining pre-season for those sporting teams, a requirement, and schools. And they will then look to send those particular patients to those super clinics for a full assessment and rehabilitation around brain health and concussion. As a result of that deal, we've now signed up for many of the top private schools in the UK who'll also be using these facilities. And also, this is why the British Horse Racing Authority acquired more devices, because they're going to also establish, they have 7 clinics around the UK for their inter-jockeys, and they want to have a relationship with Institute Sport, Exercise and Health. This is a trend that we're seeing, and I'll tell you why in a second as to one of our channel partners that's very involved in this. Next slide, thank you. These are the major brands of who we're working with, just sort of highlighting the FIFA, McLaren USC, Aspetar I've talked about, the Your Brain Health Group, Bonn University, and the various universities and hospitals that we work with globally. Next slide, please. Again, I've talked about our data bank and our tests and the countries that we operate in. Our unique selling proposition and our moat, our protection, is our data. We run algorithms and machine learning and AI over our data, which gives our clients the feedback. But we've been at this for a long time, and we've now captured a very large data lake of information that proves to be very valuable to our client base. And I believe that's our unique selling proposition, as we're the only company globally that splits our data into age and gender. And this is most important because we know that females have different neurological structures to men, or especially girls and boys in developmental side. So showing them the age and gender data is a much better way for our clinicians to make the right informed, objective choices. Thank you. Since we last spoke, this has been, I suppose, the best growth opportunity for the company. Your Brain Health have launched a company called Screen It. It's an all-in-one digital platform where you can conduct many tests on the platform, and machine learning, artificial intelligence reads all the reports and gives to the clinician or the sports doctor a summarized report. We are the integrated eye tracking product within that report. So when you go on to the Screen It platform and you fill in all the data, and then you press click launch Neuroflex, it happens. There's a mental health questionnaire inside that report that's integrated. There's the SCAT testing that's integrated. There's many other tests. So this is a very important part. And since they launched 2 months ago, they've conducted 10,000 tests on this product. And I don't know if the video works, guys. If it doesn't, not to worry. If you click on the other side.
We'll give it a quick crack and see how we go.
Oh, no. You got to sign up. That's okay. That's okay. I can send around the video separately. It's okay. The other platform. Oh, here we go. This is the Cyana platform, the other one for pharmacies.
We may just have to circulate later. Apologies.
Okay. No worries. No worries. Okay. We can circulate it later. Yeah. So that one that Brendan was about to launch, that's the Cyana interview of a Amcal chemist in Melbourne about the Neuroflex product and the ability to walk in and undertake either a pre-season baseline screening, and in the event that an athlete suffers a concussion on the weekend, you can go get a follow-up screen done, and then the pharmacist will then refer you on to either a local neurophysiotherapist who has the Neuroflex product, or a telehealth system that we're working with, Docto, that is trained on the Neuroflex, or alternatively take your reports along to your GP and get referred on. We have been working on this deal for a long time, and a lot of you who are maybe on this call have heard me talk about this before. It's been held up in the Pharmacy Guild of Australia, and there are two reasons. One, Sayana wanted them to sign up as a promoter of the product. That's since been signed off. The second thing is that the Pharmacy Guild of Australia insure from a professional indemnity basis half of the pharmacies. The other half are insured by Marsh, which is a broker, underwritten by CGU. And we've found a solution where there's going to be an overarching PI cover for pharmacists to undertake the Neuroflex. PI, as you all know, is related to giving out advice to the pharmacy. We've had to train the pharmacists not to give out any concussion advice, but to refer on. So that's made it a lot simpler in terms of underwriting that. So this deal will still happen, albeit that it's roughly six months to 7 months later than we expected. So that's the latest on the Sayana pharmacy deal. Okay, next slide, please. I've talked about the addressable market for growth. I've touched on this a few times. Next slide, thank you. In terms of our competitors, we really only have one competitor, Neuroline, and they've now been bought by a company that does what we call swivel chairs, where you hop on, a patient will hop onto a chair and they'll put on cameras on the eyes and they'll swivel the chair around and watch the eyes react. This is a $80,000 US chair. So Spryson have bought Neuroline, I think, is a defensive play in the clinical space. So if a client says, well, I don't want to buy an expensive swivel chair, that's the old way, I want to buy a VR goggle, which is a new way, then Spryson, who owns Neuroline, have the ability to then pivot and sell Neuroline. They only operate in America, and they're very much in the clinical space, and they're not in the sporting space like we are. Why? Because we don't explain to clients that we're a diagnostic product. We say we're a data gathering tool for you as the doctor to make the diagnosis, and you for the sports physician to look at the performance, reflex performance of your athlete, which allows us to widen our marketplace, which we believe is a successful market strategy, because doctors don't like to be told by a machine what to diagnose. They like to read it like a blood test, like putting a thermometer in, like using a stethoscope, and come up with their own diagnosis. So we continue to market our product that way. Also, Neuroline do not have brain training rehab. We're the only one that's one-stop for testing and rehab and brain training. We believe that's important as a holistic model. Next slide, thank you. Here's the team. Yes, my professor, Dr. Mimi Galliano, co-founder. She's going to be retiring soon. So I'll be sort of looking at, in halfway through 2026 or first quarter of 26 for a replacement for her on the board. But her daughter still is on our executive chairwoman, who's also a co-founder and still on our board. I haven't grown the staff since we last spoke. We've managed to keep the business momentum going with current staffing levels. But with this new capital coming in, there will be a requirement to hire some more people on the ground in these various countries I've talked about. Thank you. I don't intend to go through all our research outputs, which are in the next 6 or so slides. Just to say that they've all been touched on previously around sleep and fatigue, falls risk, concussion, also the fact that our results that we were compared to a functional MRI, which showed that we had positive results on correlation to an MRI. And then all the next slides are really repeating in more detail our expansion plans for those various marketplaces. So I will stop there and take any questions if anybody has any. Thank you.
Granville, I know we always ask each update, but the number of active devices on the ground at the moment?
300. So we've got 350 out in the marketplace and 300 active payers. So in the early days, back in 2021, 22, when we started to commercialize the business, we were giving devices away. And British horse racing is a classic example. We gave them 4, they've just ordered another 4, we just cut a deal for 8. So we're now converting those freebies, call it, those free giveaways. There's about 50 left, roughly. We're now converting them. I'm looking to convert them either into paying clients or take them back off them.
And what's break-even number?
We're about $40,000 per month short at the moment. So 200,000 US, which is about 300,000 Aussie, is my break-even point, where my revenue is paying my expenses. So we're getting close. We're getting close. And again, I understand this is a business proposition, but we were forecasting with the pharmacy rollout that would solve that problem for us. It hasn't at this stage, but that's okay because we've managed to we're building the business still towards that moment.
And so device number, just to make it easy math for us in terms of numbers for the break even.
Break even. Apologies. Break even device numbers is 340 devices would break even.
Paying devices, right?
Yeah.
Grenville, we recently spoke with a sports tech investment fund, and they sort of noted that they weren't rushing into the space just because of the rapidly changing landscape. They spoke to a number of players in the game, and they noted that there's a business that is able to do this. I doubt to the level of sophistication that you guys are, but simply with an app. I'm not sure which one of these is or if it is up here, but would you be able to speak to the differences between what they're doing, what you're doing, and just sort of
Thank you for that question, whoever that was. So it is on that slide. It's BioEye you're talking about. So it is an app that is targeting the parent market, predominantly the weekend athlete, where they have a head knock, run off the field, mum or dad puts the iPhone up and realizes that they're smooth pursuit, which is basically what you see doctors doing anyway, where they wave a finger, looking at how your eyes react to waving the finger. Your nystagmus, which is your ability of your eyes to track something, your saccades, which is how quickly they can move, is not up to standard. You need to go see a doctor. So what happens then? We hope that they go down to the local pharmacy, that they've had a baseline done and go get a Neuroflex report done, or they go to a neurophysiotherapist or a GP. Highly unlikely to be a GP, and I'll explain that in a second. Go to a neurophysiotherapist, and the proper testing is done at the clinical level. Now, when you speak to the doctors about this product, they don't like it because they're saying we cannot put a device in the hands of parents who aren't qualified to manage such a complex issue as concussion. But we as Neuroflex say, well, the more education that we get about what a smooth pursuit is, what an optokinetic nystagmus is, what a saccade is, getting the young kid or amateur athlete into the clinical environment quickly, then from a Neuroflex perspective, we're quite excited about the product. Why will GPs never really take on Neuroflex? Because they charge for every 15 minutes. They don't have the time because the Neuroflex test takes 10 minutes. So what we're now talking to GPs about when we roll out the pharmacy model, if an athlete or a child or somebody presents to you, if there's a pharmacy close by, send them down to the pharmacy to get a Neuroflex done, just like you would send them off to a pathologist to get their bloods done. So I see that that side of that business developing over the next 2-3 years. But I hope that answers your question around BioEye.
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Yeah, the other product that's getting a lot of press at the moment are instrumented mouth guards. And again, we at Neuroflex, say more tech the better, right? Because all that's doing is saying that athlete suffered a G-force hit. Whether it works or doesn't work is up to the powers that be at rugby league, rugby union, AFL to decide whether they get false positives and negatives, etc. But from our perspective, it puts people into the clinical environment quicker because they've had a low G-force that they didn't realize from a video or from looking at the referees looking at the player. So again, we're positive about all these products coming to the market.
Great. Were there any other questions on the line? Obviously, we can convey any questions if you want to get in touch. The recording will be available, and we'll make sure it gets out to everyone who missed as well. But thanks for your time, Granville. Much appreciated.
No, that's it. Apologies for Steve. You had to duck off for a family issue. So
no worries. And my team at Shaw and Partners, if any of your clients, investors, shareholders want to have a one-on-one with me, I'm always available. So please reach out if you want to and have a one-on-one.
thanks, Granville.
Fantastic.